Joining us now on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline is a man with 30 years of coaching football experience, an NFL Super Bowl champion and BYU football alumnus, Brian Billick. Coach, welcome back to the show. We couldn't help but bring up the whole Pop Grandpa story from last week, so I hope you're okay with us referring to you like that as we move forward.
No problem at all. The 30 years in coaching, that is nice a euphemism for saying I'm old.
Coach, BYU got its first road win with a 10-point victory at UNLV. What kind of emotion and preparation go into a road win versus a home win as a coaching staff?
Well, road wins are important. When I look at the NFL, I value a road win in the NFL a good deal more than I do a win at home, just because of the nature of what it takes and how competitive it is. So anytime you can win, obviously, it's important. Anytime you can go on the road, and when you've had kind of a tough season, as has BYU, it's kind of good to get on the road. You know, you kind of like going in. It's almost a more friendly environment when you go in, and there can be some energy. And so this was a good, solid win for them, particularly given the fact that they were starting that new young quarterback.
Speaking of, BYU has a new sheriff in town. He has his own fake Twitter account. It's a lot of fun after Joe Critchlow, the one-time fourth string, now starter walk-on quarterback, had a nice game at UNLV. What did you think of the performance of the fourth string Joe Critchlow in his first start?
Yeah, it was solid. You know, now anytime you run for 200-plus yards, that helps. You know, that's always the quarterback's best friend, and his numbers were, you know, they were decent with 14 to 22. The one touchdown, didn't make any big errors. A couple big plays down the field. Now, they're still 2 of 10 on third down. That continues to be something, obviously, that it needs to get better. But when you're talking about, as you laid out, the fourth-string quarterback, a walk-on the road, which, again, is always a little bit tougher environment, I thought it was a good, solid start for him. And BYU is clearly it's a little different than when you approach it in the NFL. When you're a team like, say, the Giants or Cleveland or the 49ers, where it's all about, okay, we got to get some questions answered before we get to January to decide where we're going to put our resources by way of free agents and draft choices and whatever. It's not unsimilar to a college team where it's, okay, when we're a BYU is right now, you're not going to a bowl game. We need to know where we need to, you know, where our priorities are. And do you have on campus, as they say, what you need at quarterback going forward? And if we think we do, it's all about how much development can we get done between now and then.
Coach, it is an interesting situation for BYU and offensive coordinator Ty Detmer with his quarterback situation because of the emergence of Joe Critchlow, and the hope is that he will help BYU win their final 2 games. But then you've got Tanner Mangum dealing with the season-ending Achilles injury, and Bo Hodge that has just been announced that he is out for the season with an issue with his toe and his foot. So when all of those guys are healthy, if Joe Critchlow continues to play well, what does the depth chart look like?
Well, you're right. That can be interesting because it's, you know, if you have this young talent, it depends on how good you think he is, how much can he develop between now and then, and where you think the other guys are in the development. Again, it's tough when you're talking about quarterbacks being replaced due to injury, and then they come back. And my guess is we'll see, particularly if Critchlow can play well here to the end, it's going to be, okay, we'll have an open competition in spring training, in spring ball. And make the decision at that point, which sometimes is disingenuous, sometimes it's very real. If not, then the staff obviously will have a very definitive opinion. It's always better when you can declare your quarterback. I mean, competition is good. You always hear that in the NFL. We want to compete at every position. That's great unless you're competing at the quarterback position, because that means you're probably not very good. It's better to have stability at the quarterback position, knowing what you have going forward, but competition's not all bad either.
Squally Canada has been injured, he's been benched, he's been played, and then he breaks out for the 10th most rushing yards in a game in BYU history with 213. When a guy has a breakout game kind of late in the season like this, what kind of thoughts go through your head? Because to me it was like, wait, should this have happened earlier? Is this a product of playing UNLV? What do you think, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, all those factors go in. It's like, where you been, man? I mean, we could have used this a lot earlier, but it does show the potential for that, and something like we've talked about now for the last couple of weeks. For Coach Satake, it's okay, can we hang our hat on? What can we look at going forward? Because it's a function of not just an individual having a good game. It's the offensive line, it's the team as a whole. Are there some things we can hang our hat on because you want to finish strong? We talked about that last week, how in the NFL, when you've got some teams that are clearly out of the playoff picture, there's always a team that kind of finishes 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5, that finishes on that up note that kind of catapults them into the next year.
NFL Network analyst, Super Bowl champion head coach Brian Billick with us on BYU Sports Nation, part of our weekly BYU football coverage. Each team is different each year, Coach. BYU beat UMass last season in Provo 51-9, but man, when you look at the numbers and the teams this year, things are clearly different on both sides. How do you help players on the BYU side avoid slipping into the thought process of, well, we kind of smoked them last year, so we should probably smoke them this year?
Yeah, that feels like 2 lifetimes ago, doesn't it? It's real simple. Show them the film. You know, anytime that you can always go, because the film doesn't lie, and you're going to show where this team is capable. I mean, they're on a bit of a run here in terms of their wins. They've got the 3 wins against Georgia Southern and Appalachia State and Maine. I would put on there Mississippi State. I mean, that's a common opponent, and they played pretty well against Mississippi State. It was a 34-23 game. So I would put on some good film of them playing Mississippi State going, guys, hey, we know these guys, meaning Mississippi State. We've played them. You know how good they are. Look at how these guys are playing against them. So that is always very helpful when you can make it very real, because now every player lines up and go, I remember playing this team, that guy across from me. Boy, these guys are playing pretty good against them, relatively speaking. So I don't think it'll be a tough sell for Coach Satake to say, hey guys, this is a capable team that we got to play our best to beat.
Do you remember your senior day in 1976 at BYU?
Oh my God, you talk about a couple lifetimes ago. I don't. Was I ever a senior? Did I make it that far? Yeah, I don't. That's always a great time. It really is. Very emotional, and I can't remember whether my parents were there. I think they were, because I think they went to virtually every one of my games. That year they got out and traveled in the motorhome. It was great. My mom kind of became the team mom, because every time we'd pull into a parking lot of a hotel wherever we were staying on the road, there they were with the mobile home, which the guys knew they could go and get some cookies or whatever, and they always used mom would take care of whatever she needed. So I'm sure they were there. I'm sure it was very emotional. Do I remember it? Oh, God, man, I don't remember what I had for lunch yesterday.
So let's help you remember. It was against UTEP. You won 40-27 on November 6th, and you want to guess how many catches you had in that game?
I was a juggernaut. Did I have one? Maybe 2 catches.
3 for 49.
Yeah.
Along of
how about
20.
That?
Yeah.
Not bad.
All over the place.
Not bad. Let's finish with this. What's the matchup to watch, in your opinion, this weekend in the NFL?
Oh, there's some really good ones. Obviously, you got to be in with Dallas and Philadelphia, just because Philadelphia's playing so well, and the Dallas Cowboys desperately need to show that they can stay relevant without Ezekiel Elliott. I think the game tonight, Tennessee and Pittsburgh, is going to be an excellent game. I love Tennessee. I love Marcus Mariota. Pittsburgh's my pick to go to the Super Bowl, but they're schizophrenic. They always do something stupid at some point, like almost losing to Indianapolis last week. But I think this is probably one of the best Thursday night games we're going to have. And then the Rams are playing the Minnesota Vikings. Rams have got an interesting. They play Philadelphia in a couple weeks. This at Minnesota game is going to be very, very interesting, both as a barometer to see just how real both these teams are.
That was a classic Ravens move. You complimented the Steelers, but not really.
And then threw them on the bus right afterwards.
Exactly.
Hey, got to stay true to the roots. Coach, I enjoy following you on Twitter. You give me some good laughs each and every week when you're covering NFL football. You have to enjoy being a little bit snarky on the Twitter machine, right?
Oh, it's great. If I were still coaching, I would hate me as a broadcaster. I would. I'd just say, this guy is a jerk. What the heck is he? But the great fun is particularly on Sundays, and this is the first time I've been able to do it. Even when I wasn't coaching, I then went into doing games for Fox, and so I'm focused on the game that I'm watching. And then I did a session for the NFL Network on Sundays where we did a running commentary on all the games, which was kind of fun. Because I had all the games right there in front of me. Well, now with the Red Zone channel, this is all new to me. this Red Zone channel's awesome. The way it bounces around, because I got to kind of get a feel for all the games, and so I'm being a true fan. I know I got 35 plus years of coaching, and I'm supposed to know what I'm talking about. But when I'm tweeting, it's just kind of I'm just being a fan watching the game. It's kind of fun.
Absolutely. Follow him at Coach Billick to hop on that Twitter train and check him out on the NFL Network. Coach, great stuff. We appreciate the time. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, guys.
Brian Billick on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Deseret First, your values, your timeline, your financial future.